The way to get out of your head when you're overthinking in conversations is by externalizing your attention, because you can never not think about something. Like if I said right now, don't think of an elephant, you probably immediately thought of an elephant, right? So we can never stop like negative overthinking thoughts. So the main thing that you could practice when you're having conversations with people is paying attention. And the way to do that is by externalizing it. Even though you'll have doubtful thoughts in your mind, you just pay attention to the best of your ability. An actionable step to really train your brain to do this is to start conversations with new people. And it's by using my chat framework, which is to comment on what's around you, highlight something about yourself, assess if the other person is interested in talking to you. Because sometimes people don't want to talk to us. That's completely okay. But if they do want to talk to you, you move on to T, which is tossing it back to the other person by asking a question. Basically, when you use this framework and you comment on what's around you, you have to pay attention to what's going on in like the situation, right? You have to notice that like someone's wearing a unique sweater that you like, or they ordered a food that's like one of your favorite foods, something like that. You have to notice these things, which trains your brain to pay more attention to the external environment around you. I'm sure you remember a time where you had like just a really good conversation, your jokes were hitting, and you were just kind of in a flow state, right? You probably weren't thinking too much. You weren't like planning every single thing you were going to say. And the way to get to the point where you can do that consistently is by practicing. It's by practicing talking to people. Have you ever heard someone say like that guy's just naturally charismatic? I think the main reason people are charismatic is because they've reinforced in their mind multiple times that they're able to like pay attention to what's around them. They're really in the moment. I make comedy skits and I've done some stand-up comedy, but the comedians who are always the best, they're so good at paying attention. It's like the best comedians have the best timing, right? Because it's based on the moment, right? That's how you would get good timing, is like you're able to adapt to what the situation is. And the way to develop great timing in your day-to-day conversations is by paying attention. Like people really appreciate when you're able to like make a callback to something they said earlier in a way that's like somewhat humorous. People really appreciate that. And the only way to do that is by really listening to what people are saying and also not following the doubtful thoughts in your mind. And over time, those thoughts become less and less like frequent and also less and less powerful. Because if you're able to really pay attention, even though you're having doubtful thoughts, you're training your mind in a way that shows that your thoughts do not have to control your actions. Like your goals can control your actions rather than your thoughts. So one way to get better at active listening is like summarizing what people say. So when someone talks to you, you could kind of summarize what they're saying and repeat it back to them, because then you're showing them that you're listening, right? And if you're playing that game in your mind where it's like, okay, I have to repeat what they're saying to me, so I actually have to know what they're saying, then you won't be focused on the thought in the back of your mind. Because you'll be thinking, okay, it's my job to like summarize what they're saying. I have to actually pay attention. And I can't tell you how much people appreciate good listening. Like I did a health and wellness training program through Emory University, and so much of coaching is based on listening to the client. And some of these conversations like change people's lives just because you're really listening to what someone has to say and you're asking them good questions so that they can make better decisions for their lives. And if you think coaching could be useful for you, I'm offering a free coaching call on the link in the description. If you give it that importance that like, hey, this conversation could make a really meaningful difference in the person I'm speaking to's lives, then you'll understand the importance of paying attention. And that'll be the number one thing that'll help you overcome overthinking when you're having a conversation. So again, the action item from this video is to start a conversation with someone new by commenting on what's around you, highlighting something about yourself, assessing if the other person's interested in talking to you, because sometimes people don't want to talk to us, which is completely okay. And you could kind of tell by someone's body language, like if they put their headphones in, they probably don't want to talk to you, or if they kind of like turn away, then they probably don't want to talk to you. But if they open up and they're like, oh my God, yeah, thanks for bringing this up, then they do want to talk to you, right? And if they do, you move on to T, which is you toss it back to them by asking a question. And once you start the conversation, really try and pay attention to what they're saying and also your environment. The reason I start off this chat framework with comment on what's around you is because it's relevant to the moment. You know, you're not going up to someone and just like reading off a script like, hey, how are you? My name is Prav. That would feel more like an interview than a conversation, right? But if you comment on what's around you, they'll notice that you're living in the present moment, which is meaningful for conversations because timing and attention are the most important things in a conversation. And while you do this, it's important to remember that progress is more important than perfection. Basically, what you want to do is build up to the point where like you're okay if someone doesn't want to talk to you. Like you've had so many conversations, you've started so many conversations with people that like you just have this natural confidence that you'll be okay even if the conversation doesn't go well. So let's say you take on this action item and you start a conversation with someone new and it doesn't go well. Make sure you don't beat yourself up over this, because some conversations will go well and some won't. That's just kind of like the name of the game. And you'll realize the more you do it, the easier it gets and the more like naturally confident you'll seem. And listen, overcoming self-doubt thoughts is never going to be easy, but I promise you it will be worth it. Life's not easy, but it's worth it. Take care.